This week we're going underwater to find out about some amazing ocean and sea creatures. So hold your nose, take a deep breath, under we go. So today we're going to be looking at our orange word, which is omnivore, and on the right hand side you can see a picture of a Venn diagram as well, and all of the creatures and human in the middle all are categorized as an omnivore. So I'd like you to read the definition for that, please. Some of you may know that already because we have actually covered that in science before. Perfect. So it's an animal or a person that eats all types of food, especially both plants and meat. So I would consider myself an omnivore, although I don't really eat plants. I would think of it more as my vegetables and my fruits. So that's what I would say. I am an omnivore. Okay, my next word, my green word, what does it say? Constantly. Fantastic. And what does it mean if something is constant or you do it constantly? All of the time. So if you are constantly bugging your brother or sister or constantly asking for a snack, it means you don't just do it once, you do it all of the time. My last word, my blue word. So we're thinking about omnivores, something constantly. I saw an underwater scene. I've got the word paralyze. I'd like you to read the definition for that. Now this word means basically that you stop moving. If you become paralyzed, it would mean that you are incapable, so you cannot move at all. Now today I'm going to give you some clues as to the two creatures that we're going to look at, and our first ocean creature has, I'd like you to read the 4 different characteristics of that ocean creature and see if you can guess what it might be. You got it yet? So it's got 8 arms, a bulbous head, and when I'm thinking of bulbous, I'm thinking like what a light bulb looks like, so bigger at the top going down to smaller at the bottom. 3 hearts and blue blood. It is an octopus. Well done if you guessed correctly. So here we have our fact file today. We're not going to be predicting, we're not really going to be inferring either. With our fact files, our main skill of focus is clarification. There may be some words that you haven't heard of before. There may be some words that you kind of know but kind of aren't sure, and there may be some words you really confidently know. Now our fact file is broken into 4 sections. Top bit says habitat, so I'd like you to have a think about what that means. Diet, we all know what that means, what they eat. How it survives, and an amazing fact, one which I did give you a bit of a spoiler alert on the previous page. So let's look at our habitat of our octopus. Now some of you probably can already guess where it lives. It says here oceans and coral reefs. Now an ocean is a large body of water, I know that, basically a lot of water. It lives underwater, that's something I know. But I haven't heard of a coral reef before, but looking at that picture I can start to guess what a coral reef might be. I'm going to show you a picture of it on the next slide. Diet, so what does it eat? We've got a nice long list here. Small crabs, scallops, snails, fish, turtles and crustaceans such as shrimp. So an octopus is a carnivore. It only has a meat-based diet. So I know what a crab is. I've seen a cooked scallop, but I don't know what a scallop looks like uncooked. Snails, I know that. Fish, turtles. Now the word crustaceans here is a little bit tricky. So I did have to go and get my dictionary out to clarify it. Now the definition of a crustacean is quite difficult. It's an arthropod of underwater animals such as crabs, lobsters and shrimp, and they basically all have an exoskeleton, so a skeleton on the outside. Basically we'd normally call it a shellfish. So they eat crabs, scallops, snails, fish, turtles and shellfish such as shrimp. How it survives. It survives by catching prey with its arms, biting it with its beak to poison and paralyze it before sucking out the flesh. Now it has 8 arms. I understand that it would use them to catch its prey. But biting it with its beak, I really didn't imagine an octopus to have a beak, and I'm unsure where its beak would be. Now it poisons it and paralyses it before it sucks it out, so it must be almost like a mouth where the beak is. We'll have a look at that on our next page as well. And our amazing fact is the fact that they have 3 hearts and blue blood. So at the top I have 2 pictures of a coral reef. So you can see it's underwater, quite colourful. It's basically an underwater environment. I have a picture of a scallop, a picture of a shrimp, and it blew my mind, but the beak of an octopus. And it does actually look like the beak of a bird as well. This isn't something you normally see very much, and when I was speaking to my family, they were surprised that an octopus had a beak as well. So it uses this beak to paralyse and poison its prey. Our next sea creature, I have 4 more facts for you. I'd like you to read those facts and see if you can guess. Now these clues are a little bit trickier. It feeds constantly. So remember, constantly means all of the time. So that means it's always eating. Likes to swim in pairs. So we know pair is 2, but it's not a great swimmer and often becomes very, very exhausted quite easily. And it has no teeth and no stomach. Have a think. I think our green clue is probably going to help you get the closest. It's a seahorse. Now, similar to our octopus, this is also broken up into habitat, diet, how it survives, and an amazing fact. So I'd like you to pause the screen, pause the video, and I'd like you to read through the fact file, and then I'm going to read through it for you. So, its habitat. Shallow tropical waters in coral reefs. So now we know what a coral reef is because we saw pictures of it before. And tropical, does that make you think of cold or hot? Now shallow, I'd like you to think of if you've ever been to a swimming pool, when there's a shallow end and a deep end, what does that mean? For diet, it eats tiny plankton and crustaceans. We know what that means from before as well, such as shrimp. They are omnivores. That was one of our key words earlier. So it eats both plants and meat. How it survives. A seahorse needs to constantly eat to survive. Adults can end up eating 30 to 50 times a day. My goodness me. And an amazing fact. The male seahorse gives birth to their young. They are the only species to do this. So today we have 6 questions. I'm not going to go through the answers to questions, but we're going to look through them together and we're going to break them down a little bit more. So our first question says, find and copy an adverb. So that means one adverb, which tells us how often seahorses need to eat. Now we know that an adverb is a word that describes our verb. It tells us how we're doing something. But they can also be used for different ways here because it says how often. So I'm looking for the frequency that a seahorse needs to eat. Now we know as well that adverbs often end in ly, but they don't always. So bear that in mind as you're having a look today. Question 2. Where can seahorses be found? So that means I'm looking for their habitat. So now we need to look in our seahorse section of habitat. Question number 3. List 3 things an octopus can eat. You can choose any of the 3 things in the octopus's diet section. And I am happy to give a bonus point if you can tell me whether it is a herbivore, an omnivore, or a carnivore. Question number 4. How does the octopus survive? So here I'm looking for a because. How does it survive? What does it do to survive? It does this to survive because. Question 5. Where can octopuses be found? So similar to before, this is now our habitat. And question number 6, what do octopuses have? So this is a tick one. Do they have 1 heart and red blood? Do they have 3 hearts and blue blood? Or have they been around for over 650 million years? I really enjoyed finding out a little bit more about octopuses and seahorses today. I hope you did too, and we look forward to seeing all of your amazing answers.